The Wadsworth Area Chamber of Commerce is pleased to present 10 $1,000 scholarships to students pursuing higher education, either vocational or college, in a business-related field. Our wish is that the students achieve their educational goals and then return to Wadsworth to live, work, and play. The Wadsworth Chamber is behind each of our scholarship recipients, and we are cheering you on to greatness. If you guys could join us as I call your name. We have Caden Mellon, Joey Flanagan, Larry Mills, Dominic Gambasini, Katie Griffin, Will Hutchison, Brooke Manfull, Max Hatfield, Kellen Roberts, and Will Stack. Let me see the right one. Simon? Yeah, he'll come up next, yep. Okay. So we'll pass the mic down. You guys just say your names and then what your plans are.
All right.
And we mean your plans later, not like this afternoon.
Whichever.
Hi, my name is Caden Mellon. I will be attending Miami University in Oxford, and I plan to study business economics.
My name is Joey Flanagan. I'm going to Cuyahoga Community College. I'll be studying marketing.
My name is Dominic Gambasini. I'm going to Akron University, and I'm going to be studying accounting.
I'm Katie Griffin. I'm going to the University of Dayton to study business.
I'm Will Hutchinson. I'm going to the Stark State University to study accounting.
Hi guys, my name is Max Hatfield. I will be going to Jacksonville University in Florida, where I will study business, and I will minor in accounting.
Hi, my name is Kellen Roberts. I'll be going to Ohio University to study business analytics.
Hi, I'm Brooke Manfull. I'm going to Grove City in Pennsylvania, and I'm going to study marketing.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Additionally, for the 11th year, the Chamber is presenting the $1,500 David B. Hopkins Memorial Scholarship, created in memory and honor of the Wadsworth Chamber Treasurer, David B. Hopkins, CPA. It is awarded to a student pursuing a degree in accounting. Each year, the Hopkins family chooses the recipient of this scholarship. The recipient for this year's scholarship is Simon Kilker.
Where are you going?
Ohio State to study accounting.
Oh boy, those numbers, people. I don't understand them. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely love to hear all the accountants in there, so. Wadsworth Young Professionals, a community outreach of the Wadsworth Chamber, is taking a sabbatical for the summer. So our meetings will pick back up in September when the school year starts back up. The Women in Leadership group meets the second Monday of most months. The next meeting is Monday, June 10th from noon to 1 p.m. at Cambria's Bistro, formerly Unwind. The guest speaker is Carrie Deeks, Sale and Operations Director at Core Support Partners. The cost is $15 and includes lunch. Please RSVP to the Chamber by Friday, June 7th. Mark your calendars for the Wadsworth Chamber golf outing on Monday, August 5th at Rawega Golf Club. Thanks to Vans Auto Service and Tire Pros for again offering to be the title sponsor. All the teams have sold out, but sponsorship opportunities are still available. The Chamber is inviting you to an upcoming ribbon cutting ceremony to celebrate Learn CPR on Wednesday, June 12th at 5 p.m. Founder Rachel Rexroad recently moved Learn CPR to their new location at One Park Center, Suite 103. We are also pleased to introduce the new Main Street Wadsworth Executive Director, Megan Harvey. Megan, if you want to stand up for us. Megan is a Wadsworth resident and comes to us with an extensive background from the Akron Civic Theater. Watch for great things coming to downtown Wadsworth. On to today's program. The Chamber is welcoming Dr. Andy Hill, Superintendent of Wadsworth City Schools, and Treasurer Doug Beeman to share the annual State of the Schools address. Dr. Hill is in his 11th year with Wadsworth City Schools, and Doug is in his 28th year with the school district. Please welcome Dr. Hill and Doug.
Good afternoon. First, on behalf of our Board of Education and school community, thank you to the Chamber, Janie and the Chamber, for extending the invitation to us again this year to be able to present to you, kind of give you an update on where we stand as a school district. First thing we want to do, and we do this every year here, is recognize some of our retirees. Some of them have chosen to join us today, and those that have, we just want to take a moment to thank them for their time and service. We mention every year, we really are a people business. 80% or more, and you'll hear from Doug a little bit later, of our funding goes towards personnel to be able to work directly with our most important asset in this community, our kids. And congratulations to each of you on your scholarships today. So when I say your name, if you could please just stand just for brief recognition. So starting Jackie Accord. Jackie. Jackie spent 15 years with us as a paraprofessional. Mary Beth Baxley. Thanks for being here, Mary Beth. 34.81 years, 31 of those in Wadsworth, math at our high school. Thank you. Next, Vicki Killo. Vicki has spent 26 years with Wadsworth City Schools and is retiring as a custodian at our middle school. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you. Lynn Pound. Lynn has spent 7 years education, most recently 3 to 4 years in her last stint, retiring from us as an aide in our elementaries and elementaries. So thank you, Lynn, for your service. And Kim Snyder. "20 years of service in Wadsworth City Schools as a 5th grade English language arts teacher. Kim, thank you for your service. I want to take a moment to recognize our Board of Education. They are the one that set the tone and the direction for our school district. We're fortunate to have 2 of the members here today, members Tim Beck and Julie Beatty. Unable to be here today due to work commitments, our Board President Jill Stevens, Board Vice President Amanda Gordon, and member Gary McComas. So thank you, Board of Education. I just want to take a moment to remind everybody of our mission statement. This is what we strive to do every day with decisions that we make for opportunities for our students. This was revised a couple years ago as part of our Diversity and Inclusion Committee and has kind of been our guiding statement since. This time I'm going to turn it over to Doug to present on our financials.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. So a few weeks ago, I gave an updated forecast presentation to our Board of Education. I'm going to kind of share some of that information with you here today. You can see we're required by the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce to submit a forecast 5 years every year to the department. You can see here that we are showing a negative balance in year 4 of the forecast. And we're going to talk a little bit about why that's happening and some of the challenges and opportunities that are in front of us. First, you can see the main reason we're having that challenge there, that blue line represents our revenues. You can see a little uptick during 22 and 23. That was when the new levy that we passed in 2021 was being phased in. And then you'll see a pretty aggressive uptick in 23, 24, and 25. That is primarily because of ESSER grant dollars that are expiring. So we received millions of dollars in federal aid from the government as part of the pandemic, which allowed us to do a lot of things, primarily in staffing. Most of those staffing decisions that were made during that time will continue into the future. And that's why you're seeing that aggressive line from 23 to 25 and continuing. So you can see that those lines did intersect this year. We are projecting to deficit spend a little bit this year, and then that continues into the future, hence why those reserves that you saw on that previous page are being spent down, and we do show a negative balance. Obviously, when 2027 gets here, we can't be in a negative balance, so we will proactively make adjustments or seek new revenue sources as that time comes about. We'll talk about some of the reasons why that's happening and what we're doing also. So 3 big items that are happening, our property tax collections, tuition payments, and health care. So you can see there again, those 2 steep lines are the 2 years that the new levy phased in. Looking at fiscal year 24, the current year that we're about ready to end here in a month and a half, you can see that our property taxes grew less than 1%. If you go previous to the levies, we were growing 3 to 4% a year. So that's a challenge for us moving forward, and one of the reasons that our forecast has changed to that negative balance in fiscal year 27. Another issue is tuition payments. So we do a great job of educating a lot of students in our district. Some of our high school students elect to do College Credit Plus. And then we also have some students that are better served by us sending them out to the other schools that specialize and can meet their needs. We are seeing an incredible increase in those students and those costs associated with tuition payments. That has been increasing exponentially the last few years and continues to be a challenge. You'll see here when I talk about staffing, and Dr. Hill will talk later about the Grizzly Academy and some of the initiatives that we're trying to do to control those costs by bringing some of those students back within our buildings to educate them in what we believe is a better environment, but also at a more effective cost. The final thing that's really impacting us is our health care insurance. You can see over the previous 8 years, we've enjoyed some pretty incredible health care renewals, including 3 years where we had a 0% increase. For next year, beginning July 1, our health care is going to go up 18.6%. We're in a consortium with 7 other school districts that is self-funded. We pay premiums to the consortium and they pay out our claims on our behalf. This year, our claims that have been paid out are $2 million greater than the premiums that we have paid in. So obviously, we've experienced a very difficult year on the healthcare side, and some adjustments need to be made. So again, going back to that revenue versus expenditure chart where you saw that steep increase from 24 to 25, this is a lot of it. Between those positions that I mentioned before that were funded with ESSER dollars that are coming back that we're going to absorb into our operational cost, and this, our healthcare insurance spend will be over $2 million more next year than it is the current fiscal year. So again, another challenge for us that we need to overcome. So you can see this is just a snapshot of the previous year and a half of forecast. You can see in fiscal year 27 that we have been flirting with a negative balance in that 3rd or 4th year, what will be the 3rd year next year of that forecast, and are projecting that moving forward right now for fiscal year 27 in our May forecast update. The reason that kind of changed in November was the property tax issue that I mentioned earlier. We had projected that to be more closer to that 3% normalcy, and that coming back to less than 1% has driven that number down, as well as the other things that I've talked about so far. And then just rounding out, as Dr. Hill mentioned, our main focus is educating students, and it takes people to do that. So to combat that negative balance that we're showing in future years, we are proactively trying to reduce staff. At the same time, implementing and expanding the Grizzly Academy that Andy will talk about here in a few moments. But you can see there with the red numbers, the teaching staff reductions that we're looking to make both this year and into the future to help control our costs. We are also experiencing an enrollment decrease over the last few years and projecting that to continue into the future. So our number of students that we're educating is going down. So these projections we don't think will negatively impact our class size and the services that we're able to offer because of our enrollment decreases that have happened in the last few years and are projected into the future. And then just to kind of summarize again, coming back to this chart, some of the reasons that we talked about with our revenue sources being relatively flat. So we haven't seen any increases really in our revenue since the implementation of that levy. Because our enrollment is decreasing, we're not seeing any increases in our state aid projections because that is primarily driven by number of students that we serve. So again, that blue line is relatively flat, and we've talked about why that red line continues to increase. And then kind of moving away from our finances, I just want to talk one thing before I close out here and turn it back over to Dr. Hill. You may have seen or heard in the media, there's lots of legislation right now going on in Columbus dealing with property tax reform. So we all know what's happening with property values. They're going up, they're going up, they're going up. Over half the school districts in the state of Ohio are what's called the 20 mil floor. So we pass levies and get to enjoy the proceeds from those levies as they're collected. As levies roll back over time with property value increases, eventually schools might get to 20 mils. When you get to 20 mils, the state law says that you can't collect any less than that, so those taxes don't roll back. With half of those school districts in the state of Ohio being on the 20 mil floor, those communities are experiencing huge property tax increases for their constituents. A neighboring district of ours, Chippewa Local Schools, hit the 20 mil floor this summer. My parents live in Chippewa. They called me as soon as they saw that. And they're like, what's going on? I'm like, your property taxes can't go back. There's House Bill 920. We can talk about this all day. Property taxes don't increase. I looked up their tax bill, and their taxes went up because they hit the 20 mil floor. Try explaining this to your 83-year-old mom and your stepdad. Didn't go over well. Talked to them for 45 minutes, and they walked away and said, so our taxes are going up. The reason I share this is Wadsworth is not near the 20 mil floor, so we don't expect this to negatively impact the people in our community with any types of increases like that. But there is lots of legislation going on, and depending on what that legislation comes out as and how it is implemented, it could impact our tax collections moving forward if they do something to scale that back, similar to what they did way back in 1976 when House Bill 920 went into effect. So I share that with you just in case you're seeing that in the news and wondering if that impacts Wadsworth. Not right now. Stay tuned to what that actually ends up looking like, because it could possibly impact us in the future. So that's a quick recap of where we are as a district on the financial side. And I know my stuff's not nearly as exciting as Dr. Hill's, where he gets to show you pictures of students, talk about all the great things, but we think it's important to share this message with you. And I'll turn it back over to Dr. Hill now.
Thank you, Doug. One of the questions we get, by the way, based off of what Doug just mentioned, is where are the kids? Why is your enrollment declining? Where are they going? To the best of our ability with being able to look at stuff, we just believe there just aren't as many in our community. It's not that we're losing them to a lot of the other school choice options that are out there. There's definitely students that utilize options, but they always have. We've seen a slight increase in home instruction, or what was previously known as homeschooling, but not an increase to explain how we go from a district that years ago had 4,800 kids to a district that we're projecting to have about 39-something for the upcoming school year. And it's really interesting because right before COVID, in 2019-ish, we were being touted as the third fastest growing community in Northeast Ohio. But even while that was happening, we were still experiencing this decline, gradual decline over time with students. So we are working hard we've been working with the board to try to create an attrition model where we can reduce as we move along to kind of right size what we believe is needed based off of the level of services that are required for students. One of our challenges, though, in doing that is another thing that Doug talked about, which is the level of services that are required for students continue to expand in ways that we probably would have never envisioned 10 years ago. And the individual needs identified through individual education programs and the federal and state requirements that go with those, with what districts have to provide as public school districts, create a real challenge for us to be able to figure out creatively how we make all of these things happen. And so anyways, as we move forward, we want to touch on some of these areas briefly, and then kind of give you a snapshot of where we are heading in some big areas that you may have an interest in. In regards to the arts, our art program, our fine arts program continues to be phenomenal. You know, whether it's at the elementary level with what we've expanded with our encore offerings in art, music, physical education, through the intermediate and middle schools, at our high school with our band, award-winning band and choir programs, the drama productions that continue to happen every year, that seem to outdo themselves every year at the high school and the middle school level. We're very fortunate that our community supports the arts the way that they do, and that our board has put such an emphasis on those. In regards to athletics, you know, a lot to be proud of as well. We continue to have individual state champions. This is Jackson Joy, who is a 3-time state champion in wrestling. Pretty incredible feat. The year that he didn't win it, by the way, he's finished runner-up. So that's a pretty amazing career for him. We have a number of teams that won Suburban League titles during the course of the school year. Our football program, volleyball, the girls cross country program. We have our new esports program at the middle school that this year won the state title. And our color guard brought home their 3rd state title, I think, since 2016. So just a lot to be proud of within the area of athletics. And then within academics, you know, there's a lot that happens every day. It's truly amazing what our educators and our support staff are able to do for the learning of kids, and what our kids are able to do with their creativity and their energy to be able to produce all kinds of different learning results that make our district and community so proud. One of the things that's on your table is the quality profile. We do one of these every year. This is the most recent one. And the new one will come out for the current school year that we're finishing. The new one will be out in roughly the middle of September. But if you're interested about statistics, state test scores, ACT, SAT averages, AP programming, you name it, this document kind of summarizes all of that for you. Provides a lot of different links. You can find this on our website, by the way, to be able to use the hyperlinks to be able to see us, compare us to other school districts that are similar to us or state averages, or look at how well our students compare to other districts when it comes to taking remedial courses when they move on to college. Just a lot of information in that document. But we put that out because we believe that there's more to the picture of a quality school district than just the release of the State of Ohio report card for each district and school that happens roughly the middle of September as well. So I would encourage you to take a look. A lot to be proud of within that document. A couple of things we've been focusing on this year in the area of academics that you may have an interest in. We've spent a lot of time, our Director of Instruction, Professional Development, Dr. Evans, and her team, working to implement and get us ready for changes that are happening in the way that reading is taught. The state budget bill, House Bill 33 last year, that has kicked into effect and really starts with this upcoming school year, put a number of mandates in place for school districts, from the type of approach that's used for teaching reading, which is the science of reading, to creating a list at the state level of textbooks that are allowed to be used for the teaching of reading. And if a district wasn't using materials on the list, we had to go through an adoption, and so we had to do that. We were using something called the units of study. And we had to go through an adoption process, waiting for the state to send out a list. And when we talk about finances, while the state did provide funding to help offset some of that cost, there's a cost that was there locally as well to be able to do the adoption to comply with law. That adoption happened 2 years sooner than we had forecasted out doing our ELA adoption for kindergarten through 5th grade, which is what the law is requiring. There's other implications that we're still working through. Later today, Doug and I will be part of a meeting with a number of people looking at our tutoring levels, because there's also a requirement for high dosage tutoring in law now if a student is not on track for reading, and it's extended beyond grade 3. All of these things are good. It's good that we want kids to read. Obviously, none of us come to our jobs thinking we're happy if we have kids that leave us and cannot read. But the things that are being implemented at the state level very much lately especially seem to be taking away a lot of local control decisions. And we're left waiting for the state to put out lists that have to be complied and followed until they put those out, and then we're rushing to get things in place for a school year that begins in August. And when we're talking to the department, they're making comments like, we'll have it out in July, which will give plenty of time before the new school year. Well, yes, it's before the new school year, but August is when we start. And so that doesn't leave local districts a lot of time to plan. So there's challenges there that we're working through and addressing that have cost implications when this legislation happens, and then also some eroding away of local decision-making ability. We also just went through a science textbook adoption, kindergarten through 5th grade, in certain subjects at our high school. That one was scheduled. We scaled it back a little bit because of what we had to do with the ELA adoption. But we have a new curriculum that will be starting. We have some work that's happening with our technology integration specialists, working with teachers, professional development around this whole idea of artificial intelligence and AI, with our ultimate goal really being how can we teach employees, how can we support them to use it in ways that are efficient, and with students, how can we teach them how to use it in a responsible way, recognizing the downfalls like bias and inaccuracy and other things that it may bring to the table. Just because it's new doesn't mean it's bad, but we have to make sure that we have things in place to be able to help us do the right things when it comes to teaching kids how to use a tool that I'm sure is only going to grow in use as they move beyond us to college, careers, and other things. The other thing that we're looking at is our 4 Cities Compact. One of the things that we always do, not just because we're looking at finances, we always look at finances, but we're eliminating and phasing out our programming, design, and robotics program due to lack of student interest. We just don't have it. And as part of that process, as we phase that out, Bill Damasio, who by the way is here and is new to us this year, Bill's our director of the 4 Cities Compact. He replaced Roger Wright, who retired. Bill and Vincent, Dr. Suber, our high school principal, who's also right here next to Bill. They'll be leading us through a process of surveying students to find out what careers are they interested in that align with high-need jobs, in-demand jobs, not only in Ohio, but in this Northeast Ohio region, with our goal being to bring back to the Board of Education some point next school year a recommendation for a program to replace programming, design, and robotics with. And that's our goal. And hopefully what you'll see is a new program begin for us in the 25-26 school year. Be Kind Wadsworth continues to move forward. Sarah Capaco, our student well-being mental health coordinator, leads that effort. They're most recently starting to branch into something called Neighborhood Bridges, which is an basically online posting for support for needs that other people may have. Board member Julie Beatty is very involved with this, as are others. If you have an interest in the Be Kind Committee or in this Neighborhood Bridges concept, which is much bigger than just the school district, it's a community idea. The next meeting of that group is this Thursday at 4 p.m. in the High School Media Center at 625 Broad Street. We've also done a lot of work focusing on the whole child. One of the things that Sarah Capaco has brought to us is trying to focus and align on all of these different areas that we have. We have so many people doing so many good things in our school district, yet sometimes we don't take time to breathe and see how they all align. And so we've been working through this whole child model with Dr. Kevin Lorson from Wright State University to really make sure that we have supports and structures in place so that we can see where there's overlap and we can make sure that as all decisions are being made, that we're considering all perspectives from different areas within the district and not making decisions that are maybe silo-based. And so our Whole Child initiative has helped us focus in on that. There's a Whole Child team of a smaller group of core people, some administrators, one of our school resource officers, a few others, and then there's a larger Whole Child Advisory Council that involves 20 plus people from different areas of our community that are also meeting about 3 times a year to help us with this task. Something that was new this year, you may have noticed, we did an overhaul on our district website. This is just a screenshot of what we were attempting to do is streamline it in a way where it's easier to search, easier to find additional information. And one of the things that we heard loud and clear when we put together our last strategic plan was the frustration that a lot of times information on the website is not accurate, it's outdated. And so one of the things that the board did to address that as we work through it is we have a clerk who works in our technology department that now spends part of her day focused on our district website and trying to make sure that we're pulling all of this stuff together in a accurate, concise, simple way. So if you've had a chance to look at the website and you feel like it in no way aligns with what I just told you, please reach out because we have definitely been making efforts to make this better and make it a primary location to easily find and access information. Doug spoke about the Grizzly Academy. So at this meeting last year, those that were here, you heard us speak about the fact that we were going to be beginning a new school that we were calling the Grizzly Academy. And that it's a school for a smaller population of students. And it's for students that really are struggling with being successful in a more traditional setting. And this really grew out of a couple different factors. You know, one was we're looking at tuition we're paying out. And when we look at the tuition we're paying out, not only are there costs for what it is to educate a student at a place like Evolve in Medina, or Rise Academy in Medina, or LEAP in Rittman, all places that will send students when an IEP, an individual education program team, determines that a student can't receive the services that are needed for their least restrictive environment, then we have an obligation to find a place that can be able to provide those services in an adequate way. That's all federal law, ties into state law, other things that we're responsible for. We were seeing that those numbers were skyrocketing. At the same time, that didn't even include other things that we looked at with transportation that's required and all of those costs. So you see tuition identified, but there's other subsidiary costs that are there as well when we send kids out. In addition to that, it's hard to have conversations with families to let them know, hey, we're your public school district, but we can't provide the services that your child needs. And so we need to look elsewhere to do that. So we tried to create a program that would allow us to keep kids in Wadsworth, at the same time help us to be able to control the tuition and transportation and other costs that we're dealing with that keep escalating. So we started it this year small on purpose. We presented to the board that we wanted to start at K4 with the long-term goal of going K12. We anticipated that if phasing it in, there would be about a $230,000 expense to us in year one. It turned out that it only was about $114,000, and about $30,000 of that had to do with some renovation we did to the administration building. When we look forward here to, to the next year, what we're doing is expanding the K1 area where we have a great need. We're adding a second classroom, and we're also going to add 5th grade. The following year, 25-26, we will go full K-12 is the plan. And the reason we're doing that and not just rushing into full K-12, we want to make sure that this really has a solid foundation so that it's set up for long-term success. And we're concerned that if we rush and start that immediately for the upcoming year, that we'll be bypassing some things that are probably necessary that we may regret later. This is in the Charles Parsons Administration Building. If you haven't been over there, would be the west entrance, the main entrance to the building. That wing area there is now the Grizzly Academy. We had a wall that was constructed in the one hallway to kind of separate off the rest of the building. We have plans to the north hallway of the building to expand Grizzly Academy into that for the upcoming year, which means we're displacing a few of the administrative offices that are there. The Four Cities Compact, as an example, is going to move over to the high school next year. And we're in the process of all of that. Steve Moore, our assistant superintendent, who's here, is kind of spearheading all of the facility efforts on this. Our long-term goal, though, is by October 1st of this year to determine whether that building is going to become Grizzly Academy exclusive starting in 25-26, or where we're putting the Grizzly Academy in 25-26. So we're working on that. We have some things that are happening behind the scenes, but for the upcoming school year, 2/3 of that building will be Grizzly Academy, and the portions of the administration will remain, at least for the upcoming year. Program has worked really well. Erin Simpson is the principal. Some of you may know her. She moved over to Grizzly Academy from Overlook Elementary. And the staff that's there, I would just tell you that on any given day, they are the most patient people that I think anybody has ever seen. And they really are working to best meet the needs of the students. And we're seeing a lot of success with the students that are there. So it's been a good move for the school district. A couple other things here. We are working, and we're going to begin this committee work over the summer. Part of our strategic plan was to create a master plan for the middle and high school athletic areas behind the campus. This is creating a plan, not actually executing the plan. So obviously we have some financial needs that we're working through and will address. Our goal is to get something in place of what we envision and would like that area to be. And this may not be major changes. It may just be more of a cohesive look between all of the different areas that are there. But we'll be beginning that work this summer. Our new intermediate school continues on with construction. So this picture is from March 7th of this year. Here's where we are last Friday, or Monday actually, I think at the 20th. So we are moving along. We're on schedule to open the building in August of 25, prior to the start of the 25-26 school year, which has been our target all along. But it hasn't come without challenges. This time last year when I spoke to you, we were dealing with bat issues and wetlands and whether we were going to be able to remove trees and how that would impact stuff. We were able to get through that, and then the next challenge the board had was even after we had reduced the budget 26% after schematic design and created and reduced another number of millions after the detailed design phase. The actual bids came in at the end of June last year, $12.5 million over budget, and another 1.1 with soft cost, all due to escalating cost. We have Hammond Construction is actually building the building, and Halliburton Root is the architectural firm, and both of those companies have been around a long time and said they had never seen anything like what they were experiencing and we were experiencing with escalating costs. Our board was able to work very efficiently, collaboratively, and extensively during the month of July last year. And we were able to do a couple different things to be able to kind of revise the budget and get us back on track. And luckily, when we went to bid again, it came out okay. But what we did, we made about $5 million of changes in value engineering, things that we don't believe anybody will notice, really, to the naked eye, and things that do not take away from what we promised the community when we went to the ballot and asked for support back in 2021. The board also then authorized Doug to go out and get up to $8 million in certificates of participation against future sales tax dollars here in the county. So if you're not familiar with it, Medina County is the only county in the state that has a sales tax that's allowed for different purposes, building related and other facility type needs and some other things, textbooks, etc., where there's a sales tax. It is a true blessing. Having worked in other parts of the state, I'm not sure that unless you have been elsewhere that you can fully appreciate how great of a thing that it is that our commissioners did and the county approved. That's how we built 2 of the elementary schools. When we built the 4 buildings at one time that opened in 2012, 2 of those were funded through the sales tax dollars. Anyways, we borrowed up to $8 million on COPS to be able to make up that difference. So we're on track. We're excited with what is going to be there for our kids and for this community moving forward. It really is an innovative design that should provide a lot of great opportunity for learning. There's a larger performing arts center that'll seat about 1,000 people, which is larger than the one we put in at the high school, the James R. McIlvain Performing Arts Center. At the time, thought that would meet our need, and with the expansion of our fine arts and the crowds that we're drawing, we're regularly selling that facility out. And so it was purposeful that this building would have something that would be larger than the current at the high school. A gymnasium. So another thing we're looking at here, and again, we're in the planning stages, but a lot of people worry about traffic. Okay, so now you're going to put an intermediate school on a campus with middle and high school. Traffic's already bad, overlooks across the street. So a couple things on that topic that you should know. First, the intermediate school will remain on a different schedule than the middle and high school. They're an hour off, so they start an hour later, end an hour later than middle and high school. We purchased, though, after a number of years of attempting to, so if you're leaving the campus, and this is the intersection from the main entrance to the high school community center area, and that's Broad Street that crosses. We purchased directly across the street the house. There used to be a barn that was there. We took the house down more recently. Our goal is to be able to put an entrance and exit into Overlook that aligns with that stoplight, and also add some additional parking to the east of that for Overlook, which a lot of our buildings are parking challenged. Overlook is the one that's probably the worst because there's nowhere close to park, like side streets where you can just park a car without having to walk an extended distance. So that's in our future. We're working through that. We're also working on what to do with the current intermediate school. We get asked this question a lot. And the best answer that I can give you right now is the board has been operating on what I would call an aspirational goal since the CIS committee finished their work in 2017. That goal is to, when we're done with the facility, sell that to somebody following the ways that we're allowed to in law. There's 3 pathways that legally we have to follow, one of them, with the idea that whoever purchases it would use it for community use at minimum OJ Work Auditorium. This is another reason, though, that we made sure that an auditorium was part of the new building, because there's no way that we could support the need for our school district and the community use that happens in performing arts centers without having a second one. And we recognize that once we are no longer the owners of this building, that we may lose the opportunity to be able to control what actually happens with that, regardless of what the stated purpose may be. So we've been looking at some different things and pathways to try to figure out how we could work maybe with people that have an interest in renovating to align with the city's downtown visioning plan from 2017 with what they see for that area. And we've also been looking at maybe the 1990 portion, which is the newest, that sits toward Lyman Street. Maybe that helps us solve a need with either the administration building or the Grizzly Academy in a way with something we already have. But if we were to do something like that, we have no interest in keeping the rest of that facility. And how would that look? We've had some ways presented to us where there's school districts that are able to sell this type of a facility. They get renovated and then they, through the contract, get revenue stream that comes in for a good number of years based off of the income being made on the building by whoever then owns it. So there's a lot of things that we're looking at, but our goal is to, not long after we've vacated the use of that facility, to have gone through and figured out what all of this looks like and hopefully have somebody that is taking over that building that will turn around and make it something that'll be useful for the community in a way that will help with the economics in our downtown area. Just about done here, wrapping up. Janie, in case you're worried. Two other things I wanted to mention. One, we're going to be entering into next calendar year, the final year of our strategic plan. So one of the things that we will be probably well into by the time we present again to you next year is soliciting community feedback, employee feedback, student feedback, and putting together another strategic plan to move us forward for what will be the next 5 years. So you can look forward to seeing information on that. We'll probably start that process, I would imagine, late fall this year or early in calendar year 25. And then lastly, I want to point out here, we have another carpentry house like we do each year that will be auctioned. We don't have a date yet. We'll be promoting it as soon as we do. We believe it'll be some point in July. This house is at 405 Thornway Avenue in Doylestown. And so we'll have open houses like we always do, and then there'll be the auction some point in July. As soon as we have all of that information, we'll make sure that we post and disseminate it the different ways that we can. But our students have done a phenomenal job on this house this year, and we're very proud of the work that they've done. So I just want to take a moment again on behalf of our board, on behalf of our students, our employees, just to thank you and to thank this Wadsworth community. All the stuff that you heard about today is possible because this community invests heavily into the schools to be able to provide these opportunities for kids. And I say this all the time, and I'll say it again to this group. When this is all you've known, it's just what you're used to. But I would make a case that what happens here in Wadsworth is more unique than normal within the state of Ohio and really beyond our state's borders as well. And so just thank you for the collaboration and the support that you give to the school district. The district takes that very seriously. We're happy to give back and be involved to collaborate with the community. And most of all, we're just so thankful for your support. As you can see, what happens in these schools prepares these kids well. They all have bright futures ahead of them, along with the other 390-ish that'll be going through commencement on Sunday. So can't thank you enough. And Janie, again, thank you for having us here today.